But okay, so last time you scooted over to and/or the working person's bar in search of your contact, Friels the Goblin. After some friction with the bouncer, you found that the proprietor of the bar was none other than Gruff Tavin, an orc that you helped in Tenudo. He points out Friels to you, who initially gets spooked a bit, but you manage to coax him back. And then suddenly, an assassination attempt is made on Friels' life at the bar. Friels dips with Pastiche and Twig in hot pursuit. Twig turns on his velocity defractionalizers to catch up immediately, bowling over the goblin in process, and also taking some damage from the sheer kinetic force of going very fast. It turns out that the hit squad is rather competent and successfully neutralized Friels, and also turns out that the hit squad is rather pompous and gloats over their victory in front of Pastiche for a moment. Toying with him before leaving, Pastiche hurries back, where you are able to keep Twig among the living, but not the goblin. With his last breath, he solidified the details that his friend was murdered, a kidnapping from House Orion happened, and that the Sparkers are looking for something that he felt they should not have. We return to the party, where Chuman and Twig have just reunited with the other four in the Glistening Crystal Inn over breakfast. You're in a lobby area with many treats, confections, and breakfast items, and filled with... in the lobby, there are many travelers and merchants. You've managed to get a circular booth to yourselves to eat and plot and communicate. What would you like to do?
Xalia this morning has decided to give herself a hand in her mouth and is using that to pick up food and eat it. Not exactly a hand, just like disembodied fingers.
Wait, what? Hold on. You're gonna have to explain that one to me.
So, she has like fingers coming out of her gums.
What a way to start.
Okay.
Huh. So you're just kind of like grabbing.
Yeah.
With your... Okay, got it. Got it. You know. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so I'd like to imagine Makayla. You know how like right before you go to sleep, your mind starts like thinking about stuff. She had like a moment right before she's about to sleep where it's like, oh shit, I know that person about what's his name? Hold on, I'll put my notes down. Toka, the Minotaur. So she, I guess, at this breakfast that we're having,
Xalia's gum fingers.
Yeah. Makayla's just like kind of trying to finish like her tea, but like can't stop staring at this way of feeding yourself. So are you not using your hands at all? So you're just like leaning over to the food and just kind of shoveling it into your face.
She's not shoveling in, the fingers reach out and grab.
She's not a savage.
Yeah.
There's manners. There's more layers by the minute.
Sorry, this is living in my head rent free. What? I'm sorry, but that is very distracting.
Xalia's gonna look you dead in the eyes with the most innocent look on her face. As you know, there are fingers sticking out of her mouth. And she's just gonna like make a noise like she's slurping and they're just gonna retract.
Oh my god.
And then they're gone.
Appreciated.
Zoaz puts one scaly hand up to his mouth. and shakes a little bit. And then swallows down the bile.
Azalea like releases like a breath. She kind of didn't realize she was holding. Okay. Are we all recovered from yesterday's events? She kind of asks around the table.
Zoaz sort of says, I may not have been involved too directly, but yes, I am indeed well rested and prepared for the day.
Twig stretches a little and says, well, it feels like most of my bones are intact again, so all in all, about as well as can be expected.
Makayla, unconvinced. But, like, you're moving, so, okay. Turns to Chuman.
Chuman gives an affirming nod. I've been down for a few days, but I feel recovered. I feel recovered and ready to go.
Okay.
And Pastiche, my friend?
Pastiche is gonna start a bit when he hears his name.
Alright.
Yes?
Are you alright?
Of
You
course.
feeling well? I believe
Yes.
last
course.
night you were accosted. Might be a bit too kind of a word for them.
I am fine. It's Twig you should be worried about.
I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. And thank you, by the way. I don't think I ever properly thanked you for saving me back there.
Of course. Just don't let it happen again, okay?
Don't worry. I think those boots were one use only.
What a relief.
I have not
ahead.
known the Sparkers to be so unconcerned with personal safety with their inventions. I mean, you all saw how we floated down to the ground after rescuing Risbeth.
Well, if you'll recall, that was after Isbiff had gotten stuck up there.
Not because of his machine not functioning, though. It was just meant for too many people.
That is true. Technically.
Wasn't it stuck on, what did they say, wide mode?
What? Exactly.
That's neither here nor there. Safety Sparker tech notwithstanding. I'm glad everyone has recovered. I feel partially responsible as I am unsure if I properly asked, is this case, this like sort of gestures around this city, this conspiracy, is this something that you are all willing to investigate? I feel like I kind of jumped to the conclusion and just kind of took charge, but I don't know if I ever asked before we went to that goblin.
Zoaz kind of... He sits there thinking for a moment and then he speaks up. I believe it would be against my ideals, my goals. Selene would not be happy if I did not at least figure out what was going on.
Twig nods and says, if there's any truth to Yai's claims, then there are people who need help. We can't really just ignore them.
Xalia just kind of shrugs.
Chuman nods and I have no qualms about this mission. However, I am surprised at Zoaz, considering your own reputation.
My reputation?
Well,
Zoaz tilts his head a little bit.
you are a shepherd,
In-
and I'm sure that many know of your presence. So, having something like this without, I suppose, sufficient evidence would have put your reputation at stake if it was wrong, would it not?
My reputation is of no consequence when there are people who need saving.
I think evidence is perhaps long past needed after attempts at lives have been made in broad daylight.
Is there someone dead due to a poisoned egg from an assassin group that... No matter. I understand your concern, and I appreciate it. However, I believe I will be fine.
Understandable. I was not aware of what had happened yesterday.
Yes, you and Twig were out of it for most of that time. At any rate, if we plan on continuing to investigate, which it seems like we are all in agreement to, then we must decide on a plan of action going forward.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, I never got to truly speak to our friend Frias, but I understand that some of you did, and we may have some information.
He was too paranoid when I spoke with him, so I do not know if he managed to say anything before he passed. Looks to Twig and Pastiche.
And Twig says, "Hold on a moment." He opens up his backpack and pulls out a notebook, flips through a few pages, and then opens his beak, and out comes Friels' voice. "First off, there's my friend, Friggs. She got murdered, killed in cold blood. I saw it. The kidnapping of the House Durian child. And that's not all. The Sparkers." And then he closes the notebook and says, "We didn't get too much out of him after that. He was too scared to keep going."
Zoaz... Accel, Zoaz would know about the House Durian, was it?
House to Orion.
House to Orion, okay.
So, Dorian for easy,
Orion.
because that's how you do it. Yeah, you make a history check. What we got here? An 8.
This isn't like, do I know a lot about it? This is like, I know of it.
Yeah, you Zoaz, you've heard the name before. It's not anybody that you have interacted with, either directly or by proxy. But it is definitely a notable name. It is a house of a noble. Well, let me back up. I said that kind of wrong. Orion is the surname of a family of nobles.
Okay.
You don't really know a whole lot more than that.
Okay.
They operate out of Baskar. In fact, you do know that the current scion of House Dorian lives here in Baskar.
Okay. It's a kidnapping of the House Dorian child. It seems a bit strange that the town is not more alert.
I imagine that the town is rather remains ignorant of the dealings going on.
The town itself at large, yes, but you would think the house itself is one of noble descent. You would think that they would have connections that would get the guards on high alert.
Unless perhaps it was the house themselves, or do not want this known.
Indeed.
But that is just speculation. That. Let's see what else. Our other. When Xalia and I interrogated the almost hitman of at the bar, we knew little, but he gave us a name, Toka, and after brief attempts to remember, I believe he was that Minotaur that we saw drag that answer out of the city when we first entered.
Ah, yes, that does seem to add up. I did. Forgive me, I did not focus too hard on
the
Minotaur
answer
info.
only. It was only brief we saw him. The answer only only said his name in passing.
And I believe I was busy dragging Chuman to the infirmary.
That sounds about right. And then did say one other thing, but this one seems significantly less substantial. He believes he, in the past, had gotten some of his jobs from a person who he believed worked in the circus. Had some kind of cape with features.
Xalia, upon hearing this description, is going to perk up, snap her fingers, and make a minor illusion of the person she saw in Tenuto.
Okay. The what you see before you that Xalia produces is the image of a bald, dark-skinned man. It is an image of a person with sort of like jagged ends on the cape, upon which hang ringlets. And let's see. I forget. Did you ever see anything more than just their back, or did you?
Don't think so.
Okay.
I think I lost track of him really quick.
Okay. But we do not see a face or like a front or anything like that. Xalia manipulates her image again and shows that they were like throwing a coin behind them, and then that's the static image. That's the static, the last JPEG that you produce, Xalia.
Makayla can't interpret this. Are you saying you've seen this man?
I'll nod. She's still eating. She's not looking you in the eye.
Couldn't have been here. You were with us the whole time. Well,
the minor illusion would include the scenery, so you could probably tell.
would it? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Wasn't sure if it was like the scenery or like literally just the person.
Yep.
Okay, Tenuto. Well, I do not think going back to Tenuto would be particularly fruitful, to be honest. But
Indeed, I unfortunately would not be able to take you. Though I may be able to postpone the escort of our cargo beyond this point. I don't think it wise to take it back, and I frankly do not feel comfortable leaving Korrakon alone.
But this is something that we could use to ask around if need be. But this one is definitely perhaps our weakest lead.
Indeed.
Friel's also mentioned the Sparkers before he got interrupted, but we don't know too much about where that was going.
I mean, it is hard to imagine the Sparkers doing something malicious for me, but I'll admit I have not had extensive interactions with them.
Malicious, maybe not. Reckless, maybe so.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe there's no doubt for recklessness within their methods. Nevertheless,
Safety is within their purview, but caution. The two things are not. They do not necessarily go hand in hand.
It's not much to go on and start investigating, but something to keep in mind, keep our eyes open for, perhaps.
Indeed. Well, it makes no sense to pursue the weakest leads first, so we must. I would assume that we would choose between our friend Toka, was it, or the House Dorian?
I believe. Hold on. Accel. Did you describe? Was Toka a Dune Strider?
Toka is not a Dune Strider. He make a history check. So see if you can recall your quick look at him.
Quickly looks up last episode VOD, or 2 episodes ago VOD to check the VOD. History.
No, that would ruin my recording because the sound would go over it. Hey, a 16's not bad. You do recall that he seemed to have some kind of like strange gauntlets, and notably he had some sort of mechanism attached to his forearms that seemed to indicate that he was part of a Sparkers. In addition to just being overall kind of like spiky hair, that kind of stuff, and you recall his appearance.
Okay.
But in addition to that, you recall that he had equipment on that. He's obviously a miner, and either is or works with, in close relation to, a Sparker, because he had their apparatus on his arm that every Sparker you've encountered ever in your long years of living has.
Got it. Okay. Alright, that changes what I'm trying to say. Actually, I think perhaps Toka might have been either a Sparker themselves or been equipped recently by said Sparkers. So it might be more to that Sparker thread than it might first appear.
Does seem like a possible link.
Well, do we know where this Toka is, or have any idea?
Seemed Well,
I
Considering
believe I could
he-
ask around, but
yeah, we can try and look
I-
around and ask. But
I don't believe that searching for someone that we believe may be involved with a criminal organization by name may not be the safest idea.
Makayla kind of like pauses for a minute, and then speaks. But perhaps that might be some of the fastest way to get a reaction.
Fastest way to get a reaction, or
By
fastest way to put one foot in the grave.
Perhaps.
At any rate, it seems like this is the lead we plan to follow, or are there any other ideas?
No, Makayla shakes her head.
Zoaz looks around at the rest of the group.
Twig nods and says, "That sounds good to me."
Oh.
Chuman? Pastiche?
At this point, you would notice Pastiche seems to be sketching something in charcoal on a single sheet of parchment. Well, one moment, please.
Ah, take your time, of course. I mean, when the mood strikes, I understand.
Oh,
Frankly, I can relate. Sometimes I have a want to communicate with Selene. Well, it's hard to focus unless I commune, pray.
Pastiche, Zoaz keeps talking, but you're focused, and you don't hear him anymore, and instead you are doing what?
Pastiche is painting a portrait of a certain feather.
Okay.
While that's happening,
there's an easy way to make a joke here, but okay. Alright, yeah, a 19 will do it. You paint an accurate portrait of Feather, one of the assailants that descended upon you the other day. So while you're doing this, what is it, Zoaz?
Zoaz, while he's doing that, would turn around and say, Chuman, do you have any thoughts on pursuing Toka?
No, none at all. Part of me feels.
Sorry.
Part of me feels as if this may be related to whoever Pastiche's attacker was.
Indeed. In that case, it seems we are all in agreement, so once our friend here has finished, it may be our... Well, we will see what we can do.
Okay. Pastiche, you finish your thing, unless you
No.
were about to say something. Okay.
I was gonna say, satisfied with the portrait. At this point, Pastiche is going to lift the sheet of parchment and just kind of show the picture to the rest of the table. This
Twig
woman,
says,
Feather, she said her name was. She's the one who killed Frios. I don't have much more than that to go on, but she is the one who attacked us.
What does she look like?
I have
You
placed
can
her
see the-
token right here. I was trying to like pop it out
Oh,
and
that's
show you
what
in
that
its own
is.
window, but
Was
Okay.
she the only one who attacked you?
She had a friend, a servant. It's unclear. He was a dwarf, I think, but I can't say his humanity was intact.
I see. Hmm.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Perfect.
Whoa. It seems we'll have to be on guard during the shadows if they manage to catch you off guard during the altercation earlier with Friels.
And then just for the for full effect, he produces a when Pastiche shows everyone, he gives you this portrait of this lady that is adorned in feathers from head to toe, but notably she is not of any descent of any kind of bird. She has this cloak that is adorned with feathers, just purple and white. Well, sorry, this is charcoal, so it's a monochrome picture. Many feathers hanging from it. Pastiche has shaded the area beneath the feathers to be black, so you can see the feathers are hanging from it. She has a sharp look about her, pursed lips, sort of like a dangly beaded headdress over her dark brown hair.
Well, in the same vein as asking around for someone who may not, or who may be involved in a criminal organization, we may not want to go around showing this picture to everyone, but it is good to have a face to the name.
Oh, I did not mean to imply we should pursue her. Just that she's someone to look out for.
Well, may well come into contact with her again soon. At any rate.
Thalia is gonna minor illusion the portrait to have a mustache and glasses.
Well done.
Are the mustache and glasses like in charcoal as well? Or
Yes.
okay.
They are a match for Pastiche's style.
Oh no.
Cool.
It is so. Well done.
Would
Pastiche, your art has been vandalized, but go ahead, Makayla.
would either? I mean, I kind of feel like in RP we might have established that we don't, but would Zoaz or Makayla sort of have an idea of like where, if there was any like a Sparker kind of headquarters or like outpost within the city would be?
I'm gonna say that Zoaz would most likely not. At least that's my idea of his character, is that he probably wouldn't pay too much attention to like actual locations of Sparker headquarters and stuff.
Okay. That's fair. I figured we kind of already implied that we didn't, so that's fine. So, I guess we go try and find some Sparkers. Kind of shrugs.
A more concrete lead may be the Dunestriders in front of the city. They see everyone come in and out, and it seems like Toka comes to throw people out of the gates fairly often, so they may have a decent idea of who he is, and they are a safe place to start our search.
Nope.
Hardly any chance that the Dunestriders themselves are involved in this one. They're the ones that gave us the mission. Good job, Sigma.
Yeah, Sigma agrees.
Yes, Xalia makes a cat noise.
Sounds like she could and would, but not right now.
Then we are off.
Kayla takes like a final sip of her tea and nods in agreement.
Chuman stand up. Let us be off then.
Zoaz will stand up, tap his staff 2 times on the ground, and then make his way out of the tavern.
Pastiche will take another look at his drawing. Notice the mustache and glasses. Glance around the room for a moment. Tilt their head, and then stow it away.
Mustache and glasses will remain floating in the air.
Cool. Pastiche glares briefly at Xalia.
She isn't even looking. She's been like poking at a book for a while.
And
So, refreshed, your belly is full, and at least one of you caffeinated. You head back over to the main gates of Baskar and communicate with a couple Doomstriders. They are there, striding the dunes. We'll just put them right here instead of shifting you to a different map. But we will shift the music. Zoop.
Cool.
So you approach the Doomstriders, they nod at you, shift a bit, and hello there.
hail, friends. My name is Zoaz. I do not know if we have met, but we have some questions, my compatriots and I. I am a shepherd of the. I'm a shepherd, and I am here on. I'm here in regards to an inquiry.
Alright. You must be the shepherd that I recruited. That's fine.
Ah, indeed.
Yes, we're all aware of you. We wish you luck in your investigation. If there's anything that we can help you, we would love to. My name is Jealous. This is Jealous.
It is nice to meet you, my friends. We were looking to meet with someone, a Minotaur named, and Zoaz will turn to Makayla.
Toka, I believe that's what I was told.
Toka, Minotaur. Ah, yes. That one. Toka's the foreman of the mining crew.
Is he now?
He is. He's usually in the mines all day, and he rests at night. Do you suspect that he's involved somehow? Should we accost him?
I do not believe that would be the best course of action right now. There is a chance, indeed. He was implicated by our contact that we were sent by Yai to meet.
Or rather, the contact's hitman. But
thank you. I was not there myself.
what's like the vibe of these two Doomstriders? Like, can we trust them?
Roll an insight check. What's your passive insight?
Probably pretty high.
It would be 16 in that case, because that was an 11 that you just rolled, right?
Yep, 16.
Okay.
Passive.
They're following along. They don't like you don't get the sense that they're like trying to hide anything from you. They're Doomstriders. They've always got the populace on their mind. So they're kind of like their demeanor is kind of like, where is this going? And they're wondering what you want them to do. And there's always this sort of thing with Hollandaise Doomstriders of what rule are they breaking?
As in, like, that's what they think of us. Like, what rule are we breaking?
Oh, no.
Or
Of the person you're talking about, Toka.
oh, okay. This is simply we do not know enough about the city and locations of people, and places. We figured we'd come to you to find a place to start in terms of our search. We believe Toka is involved and simply wish to know perhaps where we can find him, or where we can perhaps find more information on him.
Definitely. Toka is usually down in the mines, and he may be unreachable at the moment. Definitely don't wish to send you down there in that dreary place. You might ask his employer, which would of course be Alzier Orion. You can find him in the Mithril Ring, but good luck talking to him. I hear he's holed himself up.
Hold himself up. It's interesting.
If you do manage to find Toka on his way back home, we definitely encourage diplomacy with him. I would not like to find you all splattered on the streets in search of good things. Just come get us first.
Rest assured, violence is not our intention.
All right. What else can we do for you? Is anyone breaking any rules or laws?
Would you happen to know of a feather within the city? This is a really unfortunate time for Thomas to have stepped away. Zoaz reaches into Pastiche's bag and pulls out the portrait.
Alright, Pastiche is like a hey, what the kind of reaction when you just run in and do this, and you present the portrait of one feather, and they look at each other. They look at the immaculate drawing. It's an accurate portrait. It's very well done. It's got some like chiaroscuro shading and everything.
Still has the mustache.
It does not have the mustache. The mustache was left back in glittering crystal.
Oh me.
They have this curious and quizzical look, and they say as much as, "Who's this then? Have not seen her before."
Well, my friends are to be believed, which, frankly, I trust them dearly at this point. This would be the assassin of the contact that Yaya bade us meet.
They kind of stiffen up, and their chin raises, and Jealous, the one on the left, holds out his hand. May I have that portrait? We'll be needing it to track down this person. Assassination attempts are against the law.
I would hope so. Zoaz... Out of character. I don't want to give something that Thomas's character owns away while he's not while he's not here.
It'll be fine. It's not precious.
Zoaz hands over the portrait.
Okay. Yoink.
You know, it's not like a precious thing, but also like, yeah.
No, I feel you.
All right. So they both like take it and study it. Then they nod at you all. Thank you very much for your assistance in this investigation. We will deliver this portrait to the barracks, and we'll get on in searching for this ruffian.
One more thing. There seem to be rumors about foreign mercenaries within the city walls? Is this something that has been on... almost said something that wouldn't exist back then. Is this something that has been on your purview?
Make an insight check. Alright. When you start talking about this, there's a shift in their demeanor. They do manage to put on like a good facade of standing tall and strong, but to you, Makayla, they noticeably deflate, and they reply to you. Yes, it is a terrible thing that we are stretched kind of thin in Baskar. A lot of the Doomstriders that we normally have stationed here have been moved to cover Zonrune and provide security detail at Tenuto during the Hopeward Fair. We have relied on mercenaries to provide security detail here in their absence. That is what you have heard. If you identify any mercenaries that are breaking the law or not upholding the law, please report them to the nearest Doomstrider. We are all bound by law to uphold the safety of Baskar.
Of course. Were these mercenaries checked and vetted?
There's a pause. Of course they were, ma'am.
But like, were they though?
That's another insight check. Actually, no, we'll use the same one. So you've got a beat on these guys now. They don't know.
Fair
I was
enough.
about to say Chuman was feeling the same moment.
They, the pause was indicative of them trying to search their minds and see if they do know.
Fair enough.
And then the boldness of course they were, that came later. You, song and dance.
It betrays, yeah. Betrays their confidence. One final question from me, at least. It's just simple. Is there a sort of God, what's like the actual term for what this would be? Like outpost or central of sparkers within the city?
Yes, you can find it in one of the lower rings. It is on gentle... The Doomstrider pauses for a moment, trying to think. He like nudges Angelus. What was it called? Angelus kind of like rolls his eyes. And Angelus pipes up, giving Angelus a rest. It's called Gentle Electra, that ring. It is 3 rings down. It's very obvious, just follow the explosions and electricity.
Makayla kind of does that like eyebrow right, like raise, head shake, like yeah, that checks out. Fair enough. Thank you.
Angelus nods. Will that be all for today? We definitely have a job to do now. You've been very helpful in exposing criminals.
I believe so. I
Great.
personally do not have anything to say.
Be fair and be just. And those two head off towards the barracks to deposit their evidence.
I still need to guide them. At any rate, it seems like we have... Seems as if House Dorian is a place of interest for us, though I'm not sure if he's holed up. Could we even reach him?
Most likely not right away. We would probably require some sort of reason to see him. Perhaps for the now, a good use of our time would be to give a visit to the Sparkers while we wait for the mining shift to end, perhaps.
That is a very good idea. We should, perhaps we should get going now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alright. Go and roll a survival check, Zoaz. As you survive through the city of Baskar. Never mind!
No, I don't. I'm dead.
You fall off of a bridge. Alright, so you guys are maneuvering around through the rings, you're going up and down lifts, you're crossing bridges that span across this strip mining gap. Zoaz in the lead. Zoaz, you confidently strut forward, taking the directions that you were given, but it seems like you get turned around a couple times and you're in an unfamiliar place of the Dusty Spiral several times, and it takes you like a good 2 hours extra to finally arrive at the Sparker headquarters here on the Gentle Electra landing. So they call this ring. You arrive in front of a let's see. It's certainly a building. It has pipes everywhere, steam coming out of it. It's got some crystals that are just embedded in part of the windows, or in part of the windows and frame of the foundation. There are people with these arm apparatuses that strap to something on their back everywhere, maneuvering around. There's gnomes, dwarves, goblins, people from all different civilizations. There's a couple of humans here as well, and Lizardfolk. It seems like they are bustling. They're definitely doing something. You walk on in, and you find more hubbub, and it looks like there is someone performing administrative duties at a counter. It's a goblin. They hail you. You walk over.
Zoaz will sort of...
Makayla will kind of quietly whisper to Zoaz, homies is goblin for friends.
I see. Well, frankly, maybe my friends here would be more adept at telling you why we are here. Frankly, Zoaz is not 100% sure what kind of stuff we need to do to pursue this lead.
Fair enough.
I am not sure.
Give me 1 second. Finding a name.
The goblin identifies themselves as Eatworks and extends, walks out from around the counter and comes up to maybe most of you guys' waists and extends a gloved handshake. It's a little leather action.
Makayla would reach down and shake it. Makayla. She'll... pleasure to meet you. what exactly is this like facility that we're in, or at least what it seems to be?
You look around as Ituusk comes around, and there are many glass cylinders. It looks something like it's definitely a workshop, something like an atelier. It's a larger, more organized version of the workshop that Zeus had. Noticeably not cramped, not things falling over. It's definitely organized. There are many testings going on. There's lots of sparkers holding clipboards, looking very official and conducting tests. Lots of science stuff around. There's flashing lights, and most prominently, there are many rose-colored crystals that are held in vices and like tweezers and stuff, and most of the study is being devoted to that, and every once in a while like a sparkle will just shoot lightning at one of them.
Are these like the same crystals that were at the like floating tomb or temple?
They are.
Huh. Neat.
What one look and they are.
Cool. Makayla would take out the Book of Gibberish, a tome of gibberish, sorry, and would say, sorry, I just like lost her names. We've come from out of town. I'm trying to find perhaps someone that could figure out what any of this tome meant. I had met Zeus and Risbeth of Denoto. No, sorry, Tenoto. Have you heard of them?
Ituusk, you're offering the tome to him?
Well, yeah. I'm asking currently if they've heard of Risbeth and Zeus.
Okay.
Sort of. I'm not offering to him. I have the tome in my hand.
Okay. The little green goblin before you shakes his head, and he thinks for a moment. Shakes his head. No, neither of those names ring a bell. I can check the ledger and check on their administrative practices. We can find out.
I mean, it is of little concern. They are just sparklers within Tenuto. They could not figure out this tome, and it's recommended I sort of gestures at this facility, a much more well-stocked facility.
Okay, what kind of tome do you have there? Let me see it, homie.
Hands the tome of gibberish. Does anything seem like out of place within? Like while I'm sort of talking, kind of trying to scan the area, like observe and see if there's like something that seems off about the place.
Yeah, roll insight as you hand the tome to the dude, and he kind of like makes a weird face as he's thumbing through it. Then he looks up,
16.
looks at you. He's like, I know some of these words. And
it's not the words themselves, but it seems to be perhaps some sort of code, perhaps, but some sort of something. It is hard to tell.
If there's a code here to crack.
This was very well protected, and someone would not go so far to just protect gibberish.
Well, we can. We'll crack the code, homie. Don't worry. I'm gonna call in a couple favors, and I'll get some people working on it, and he just kind of like does a little with his finger, a little swoosh and this little circle in the air, and hands the book off to one of them, and says a couple things in Goblin, which say, "I'll be there in a moment." And as far as you're looking around, you don't see anything off. Like, everything's neatly in its place. However, that goblin over there is about to fall. Oh no, he trips, but catches himself and stumbles at the last moment. Very narrowly, setting acid all over the ground.
Meanwhile, the entire time we're in this facility, Pastiche is standing uncomfortably close behind Twig, his tail beating nervously, and his eyes darting around constantly.
Twig slowly turns around and quietly says, Pastiche, are you okay?
Of course. Well, why do you ask?
Oh, no reason, just making sure nothing's wrong. Are you sure you're okay?
I'm just, keeping an eye out.
An eye out? Well, just don't hesitate to let one of us know if there's something wrong.
Naturally.
Would Twig notice like the tail and just the body language in general?
You can try. It's probably not going to be very hard.
We'll just say you do.
Yeah.
Probably hear it.
Yeah. Twig, you give Pastiche another once over, and something's definitely perturbing this Pastiche.
Pastiche, did you want to stay outside instead?
Absolutely not.
Well, alright then.
I wouldn't want you to find anything too fun without me.
Don't worry, I think when it comes to the Sparker's inventions, I've had my fill of fun.
Thank the goddess.
That sentence is punctuated by a loud, electrical noise, and someone holding like a metal hook is touching to a crystal and touching to another crystal, and there's a huge bright white and blue conductive activity, and that dude it notably is like a bear looking person, is blown back a couple feet, smoking. He gets back up to his feet, nods a bit, dusts himself off, and starts writing notes. Then gets ready to start doing it again.
Twig just nods and quietly says to himself, yeah, that makes sense.
Xalia is gonna scrabble up and start cross-referencing and editing the notes.
Oh no.
Oh god.
You're just writing
No, you did it
alongside
wrong.
him, or? Oh,
No,
okay.
No, you did this wrong. What if you tried this? But as Xalia, so he's not actually saying anything.
Okay. Make a roll me some persuasion, or just a general charisma check.
Okay. Alright, need to get our character sheet open.
Meanwhile, Chuman is just looking around the area, half listening to Makayla and the goblins converse.
Okay, Xalia, this person is accepting of your endeavor, and they modify a few things. They just follow your notes or your gestures and change what you bid them to change, and then They're like, oh yes, yes. You have them waiting on on your every gesture.
Are you trying to help them change it in the better, or are you just like suggesting random changes?
Suggesting things that she thinks will make it more interesting.
Okay.
That Xalia thinks will make it more interesting.
Okay.
It's worrying.
The bear person nods and gives you a gruff tone. Yes, I see. I get it. There's like a little four-dimensional doesn't get it at all. And then in short work they bid you stand back. We'll go for another one. And 1, 2, hope the daisy. There is another spark of action between these two things. These two like little conductor materials. They look like they look like crowbars, but they're extremely hooked. Like they hook back into itself, and they touch the two. There's a different color now. It is a it is a green burst of electricity, and now the other one starts spinning in place.
Xalia claps and makes delighted noises.
Hey, it didn't explode.
A little spider leg slips out of her mouth, but quickly, curls back in.
Sorry, what?
What?
And then explodes.
The laughing gets louder from Xalia.
Makayla, like look over to the second explosion, and kind of just like, while staring in that general direction, try to make small talk with the goblin and be like, so you almost help a lot with the mining operations within this town, I imagine, right?
Yeah, we do, homie. There's quite a lot going on. They actually request us a lot for drilling and explosive maneuvers. For when that rock is particularly stubborn, you know what I'm saying, and then just kind of like edge you in the stomach with their elbow.
Of course. To imagine, tools as well, right?
Well, yeah, yeah, naturally, homie. We've got all manner of tools and all that kind of digging is one of the things that we're good at.
I see.
That's why we're afforded so many assets, tools, utensils. That whole expedition that House Orion's heading up. It's definitely one of the best things that has happened to us Sparkers.
They House themselves have even put interest within the Sparkers, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Shoot, if only we had more people helping out, we could really dig down and get to the heart of the matter, you know? You gotta, jab you again.
There must be good money to be made if a great house is interested in it. I'm trying to what is the tone this goblin's given off when they're talking about the House Orion?
He's jazzed up about it.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he knows where his money's coming from. He knows where his money's going. And being a Sparker, he's thrilled to. You get the sense that Ituusk is something of a like a captain or something. He's got
Mhm.
like a little bit of administrative power in this Barker's headquarters, and he's happy enough to be talking about it freely. So yeah, he loves digging.
Oh, is there like a sense that there's another project, like there's any projects the Sparkers are working on for the Orions and Miners that they didn't mention? You know, like something beyond just like mining, explosions, drilling, etc. Like, is there any sense that like something's just like not fitting? I don't know. I'm like kind of that's what I'm trying to suss out of.
Okay, go ahead and roll insight for me. You don't know. Your conversation, you haven't been able to particularly steer the conversation in that direction. So like he keeps control of the conversation and keeps talking about the excavations, and he does continue the conversation that they are learning more and more about the crystals, and even though you don't get the sense that Ituusk is doing anything weird with any other investigations, you do manage to get him to let you know, whether he was trying to hold it back or not, that the Sparkers have called these crystals dragon shards. And that is now the term for any of those rose-colored crystals.
That is a rather specific name for it.
I mean,
What appears to be mostly mundane.
and we just thought it was cool. Everything sounds cooler if you just put the word dragon on it, homie. Like, look, you got a hood on? Dragon hood.
Twig just nods and quietly says, "He's right."
Moonlight Shepherd, Dragon Shepherd. He's pointing at Zoaz.
My friend, I am not a dragon.
Chuman, initially interested upon hearing Dragon Gym, is now a little deflated.
But how cool would you be if you were a dragon? That's what I'm trying to say, you know, homie?
Xalia becomes an approximation of a dragon.
I
See? Look!
Zoaz thinks for a moment. I believe I like myself the way I am.
But imagine if you were a dragonborn fighter giant.
Xalia, you do, while you were messing with that dude's notes, since you were allowed so close to it and you made a couple modifications to it, you get the idea that you could probably, with enough time and access to that dude's notes, cough cough, you could probably rearrange that spell to, or rearrange his notes and his Sparker Ingenuity into a spell that you could cast.
Xalia is simply gonna pocket the notes.
Wow. That's a sleight of hand check.
Not trying to hide it, she's literally just putting them in her pocket.
Okay, well, never mind.
Natural D20.
All right. Well, you do it when that dude manages to blow himself to heck, and and then while he's recovering, you just place it in your satchel at your side, and no one is the wiser because everyone is distracted by the explosion. You go ahead and put Sparker notes in your inventory. I wasn't expecting it to be just like that. At this point, the goblin seems to be tapping his feet, and gives you sort of like a hurry up motion. He's like, well, is there anything else that I can do for you? You're asking me to do a thing, but you're still not letting me do it.
If you do manage to figure out what is on that tome, how would will you have a way to contact me?
Yeah, sure. What's your name?
Makayla.
Makayla. Let's see. He kind of studies you for a moment. Writes down your name on a note thing, and he points at you. Sorry, not points. He waggles a finger at you. Saying, just to let you know, this is commission work, and you've already given me the thing, so you've already agreed to it. This is gonna be like a 25 gold deal. You know what I'm saying? So I will contact you. I'll contact you via bird. We'll get you on the bird. It shouldn't take too long, so don't worry. It's not going to be like a I forget about you thing. We'll see you in a couple days, maybe earlier.
Alright. Yeah. Caleb. How much did they say?
25 gold, but he's not asking for it now. It's like a care of.
Fair enough.
He goes on to explain, like, if we don't get anything, like if we can't glean anything from it, then no charge. Don't worry about it, homie.
Okay. How long has it been? Sort of how long would we have been there?
Probably 40 minutes.
Well, thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing the fruits of your labor.
No problem.
Have a good day.
No problem. Have a good day. I'm looking forward to.
Makayla would turn around and go. Or start heading out, I should say.
Alright. Is everyone following Makayla, or what's everyone doing?
Zoaz following Makayla.
Okay.
I am following Makayla.
Pastiche is following Makayla.
Twig is following Pastiche.
Alright. Back on the streets of Baskar. What would you like to do?
About what time is it? Like midday?
Yeah, midday. You got up early, had your breakfast. It's a little difficult to tell exactly what time it is in Baskar because of the dust hanging in the air.
Yeah.
That was less fortuitous than I had hoped, but more connections to Orion. It did not seem like there was anything particularly heinous about what they were trying to do there. Perhaps they're just supplying.
If they aim to turn me into a dragon, then I believe that would be pretty heinous.
Xalia is gonna fucking minor illusion her. No, she's gonna phantasmal forth you to make you think you turn into a dragon.
Oh my goodness, make an intelligence saving throw.
Okay.
Zoaz, the transformation has taken you.
So, like, what kind of dragon is Zoaz? Like, is he like a dragonborn, or is he a full-on dragon?
Full-on dragon. Like, you fully perceive your own body as that of a dragon. It's not a certain type of dragon, it's just yourself, but, like, stretched out to be a dragon.
Oh, I hate that.
You also have wings.
when you mod a character skin on something that should not have it.
I think Zoaz is just gonna start screaming.
Okay, you all watch as Zoaz erupts in a cacophony of duress and blood-curdling screams. You look at him, he just appears to be looking at himself, sliding his hands across his body, but there's nothing there.
Wait, did you try and like hide this spellcasting, Xalia, or?
No.
Oh, Xalia, what did you do?
He's just laughing. And he's gonna cut it off immediately, and everything's back to normal.
Zoaz, at first your fears came alive, and you had turned into some mockery of a dragon form, but the experience is brief, and you blink, and you're back to your lizard form, your lizardfolk form with your blue scales and your green counter shading.
Zoaz is staring at himself, and he pats himself all over.
Are you okay?
Pastiche offers a hand to Zoaz. Might the shepherd need a shepherd?
Phantasmal force is only in one person's mind, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chuman chuckles at the situation, just says, "Welcome back, friend."
Why?
What?
Why are you all so lighthearted? Did you not see? That was horrible.
Once again, Makayla will turn to Xalia. What did you do to him?
He's gonna just go.
For his sake, please do not do that again.
Oh, Selene,
He'll kind of shrug and nod.
Selene, I promise if that never happens to me again, I will dedicate 1,000 prayers in your name.
I think your commotion has attracted the attention of... What is this?
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. Has attracted the attention of an old man. He is hunched over like this just creased dwarf. His countenance is like obscured by wrinkles. He's wearing this mahogany kind of like robe with a hood, huge shock white beard coming out of it, eyebrows like overshadowing his eyes. He like comes up. He's pulling a little wagon just filled with linens. He's like, "What seems to be the commotion over here?"
Zoaz is like coming down off a panic attack. He can't really.
Hello. Can I help you all? I
Hello,
know
sir.
many things. I've lived here all my life.
This is... Pardon my compatriot here. Kind of like has like a kind of very stern glance at Xalia. Just had an unfortunate experience, but it has passed. But though perhaps there is something you can help us with.
My name's Andesite.
Makayla of the Nesha tribe. Nice, pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure meeting you as well, young lady.
That gets a chuckle out of Makayla. You flatter me, but have you seen?
Andy.
Say what? Say that again.
You can call me Andy.
Makayla's debating. Well, Andy, have you, by chance, seen a rather large, sort of fiery minotaur come and go through here recently?
You can see like the wrinkles on his countenance change into something kind of like bending upwards to give the indication that he's thinking. He's scouring his aged brain. I've seen many big things in my life, I'll tell you what. You said Minotaur, right?
Yeah, I'm just describing Toka.
Minotaur. Did you say his name? I was
I
too busy
did
being an
not.
old man. I forgot.
I didn't. I mean, I believe I have to go by the name of Toka.
Toka the Minotaur. He's gonna roll a history check with his old man brain. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but he rolled the same number twice in a row.
Yeah, I effectively just like asked if he'd seen him coming and going in this area.
The only Toka I know was he lives in Ilagoon. The champion. I know because I used to bet on him many times. And I won a lot of money, I'll have you know, back in my day. He is something of a legend. He was an immigrant, you'll see, here in Baskar. But now he's the foreman of the mining excavation. They had to make a special tool for him. He broke every pick that they gave him because of his immense strength.
Do you happen to know where we could find him? Outside of the mines, of course.
He thinks for a moment. Kind of like shifts his wagon. I do not. You might try the mines. That's where he probably is being a foreman and all. I know that House Orion is bidding him things.
Thank you for your help. I appreciate the information.
If you see him, tell him to get away from that woman. I don't like her. Be careful! People are not who are as they seem in Baskar.
I'm sorry.
Then he looks at Zoaz. Kind of like smacks his lips together. You look just like my grandson.
I appreciate it.
What race is he?
He is a dwarf.
Okay.
And then he shuffles away with his wagon.
Yeah, the kid would kind of like start moving away. Like, thanks for your time. To be polite, and then kind of, well, worth a shot.
Twig gives a wave. Bye, Andy.
You never know when someone like him would have seen something. Well,
Well, it seems we know a little bit about what he was doing before the mines. Could prove
Yes.
useful information for us to find his whereabouts.
I believe he mentioned that Toka lived in. I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right. Ilid Ghul?
Lived in Illigoom. That is a
Oh,
nation.
used to.
That is a nation on the east side of Khorzaire. And so,
At this-
so he must have immigrated to the
Mhm.
west side.
It is always useful to know information about the foe, but it does not particularly help us with our current situation.
If he's the foreman of the mines, then he might know something of what's going on down there.
Well, it seems if we are to sort of follow the train of thought, it seems like he is playing a large role in what is going down there.
He could potentially be in the middle of all of this.
Seems current theory, I guess to call it, is he's very clearly seems to be doing what Orion is whatever Orion seems to be wanting. Out of character question, I mean, how well known is that house? Is House Orion?
They are.
Continue.
They like. I want to use the word popular, but that's not the correct word. They're known, of course. They
like. Do they
here you
have
go.
like a reputation?
The-
for anything specific?
Sorry, I said noble earlier, a long time ago. They're actually one of the merchant princes of Durlusk.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So that house represents one of the merchant princes of Durlusk of House Orion, which is peculiar. Well, not really peculiar, but it's something to be said that they are here in Hollandis, but not unheard of.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Alright. Well, currently everything we have leads to Orion. So it's still midday, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I cut someone off.
Then perhaps we should get going. I plan to leave this cursed place behind me. I don't
Whatever
know
you
if-
saw was merely an illusion.
I know not what those sparkers will do, or did to me, but I do not
It
plan on.
wasn't. It was not the spark.
You're gonna have to persuade Zoaz.
Xalia is going to turn to Zoaz and just, for a moment, make her face Dragon Zoaz's face. And then just go back to normal.
So mean. Zoaz, I fear your target is closer than you think.
I We should get going.
Okay, where are we going?
So where? Yeah. That's a good question.
Where are you
I mean,
going? What are
there's-
you doing?
There's the bar or the mines, I think.
Well, weren't we also thinking about House Dorian?
Would we know how to get there?
Yeah, I don't think we were told the whereabouts yet.
I mean, it's probably the fanciest part of town.
That's fair.
You can ask for directions.
Yeah, it's like
Zoaz can waste another 2 hours by leading us there.
Asking
Hell
for
yeah, I'm
directions? Insulting. Yeah, let's go.
Would Zoaz know the way to House Dorian?
I feel like I
With-
imagine it'd be like on the top layer, right?
Give me an easy history check. Or survival.
Test your luck.
Alright. Yeah, you know that the Orion estate is not on the top layer. It is on the second layer in an area called the Mithril Ring.
I guess they're just not that kind of rich.
You boldly lead the party off in this direction. So you guys head down to this area, and this ring of the strip mining city definitely seems like it would be a nicer place to live. The dust is lighter here and seems to be overall residential, and there's more security detail in this neighborhood. There's people that are walking about. They're just busily climbing onto lifts or purchasing from roving shopkeepers. You can spot a larger building than the others, and that must be the estate of your objective, of your destination that you've decided on.
While we were traveling, Makayla would have been like trying to keep an eye out for anyone trying to effectively keep an eye on us.
Okay, that's a perception check. Natural 20. Okay.
Caleb's on fire. Let's go.
Nobody seems like they're apparently following you, but you do run into a short man. You're not able to identify like if he's a gnome, a dwarf, or a halfling, but he's definitely small. He's just got like this bulbous nose, and wrapped in sort of like a two-tone cloak. The top is sort of like a muted light green, like a grass green, and the bottom is sort of like a mahogany, and he's got like a little white tuft coming out of the top of his head of hair. That's it. You seem to notice him more than once on your travel. Maybe you're just going the same direction, but he doesn't seem particularly interested in you guys. And he's never close to you either. So
Okay.
he's just like going my way, kind of that thing. It's like when you it's like when you go to the grocery store at the same time as this person, you just keep seeing them in the different aisles. It's like that.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I guess while we're here, Makayla would actually say to the party, do we, I probably would have been saying this as we go to this area, but do we actually have a plan of what we wish to do once we are there?
Chuman just shrugs.
Well, though I do not expect it to get us very far. I believe asking nicely for an audience would be the easiest thing, the easiest step to take. Rather than some other plan, as it were.
What are and if they were to ask for a reason for said audience?
That I am still figuring out.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Be my guest.
You arrive at the gates to Orion Estate. They're open. They're ornamented with unicorn heads, but they are flanked by a pair of helmeted guards. They are notably not Dunestriders, lacking in their regalia, but they're dressed similarly with their bronze open chests. They carry spears and shields, which they cross in front of you all, barring your path. The Scion is not taking visitors at this time.
My friends, I am Zoaz Ituusk of the Moonlight Shepherds, and I believe that Selene has shown me something that involves your Scion here, something he may be interested in.
Please state what the Scion would be interested in. We'll be the judge of that. Or perhaps Selene can show you the door as well.
I believe it may relate to the reason that the Scion has been cooped up, as it were. No, not the exact particulars. Selene is not... she does give information quite freely, but it is not always the most easy to discern.
Make a persuasion check with disadvantage.
Oh my god.
Not so bad.
The natural 20 diffused.
You can see that they're overall reluctant. One of them kind of like looks at the other, and then looks back at you, then looks at the other one. The first one just kind of like stands firm.
We have traveled all the way from Tenuto to deliver this message. Please, if it is something that just does not make sense without the context of that only he has.
Do you have the message in writing? I will take it to him, and you will not set foot on the estate.
Unfortunately, my friends, I do not.
Then I am unfortunate as well. That message is not getting to him.
Tragic indeed.
Roll a history check, Zoaz.
Eight's all around today.
Zoaz Ituusk would know. Would recall that he has a literal message that was given to him.
Yeah, I'm stupid. Zoaz isn't, well, maybe right now. He's a bit shaken. Actually, my friends, I have just recalled.
They appear to be waiting. You recalled what? Something that has some purpose?
He pulls out the writ of enforcement and shows them.
That's one hell of a prophecy.
Show him the badge.
Not to worry. Go ahead.
I'm very sorry. For whatever reason, I'm kind of out of it right now.
Don't worry about it.
It's all
Okay.
good.
The dude, the dude that has not budged this far reads the writ and looks at you. Selena gave you this.
No, my friends, you can see written by Yaya Vasiroko. I contacted her and was, well, we had a conversation and my friends and I were given this to show goodwill.
Okay. You can feel what?
That was supposed to be that Ron Swanson, I have a permit.
EliteBabes.com. What is this from, Cody?
Did you just get hacked? What happened?
On the other, the dude turns it on the other side and it just says EliteBabes.com.
Yeah, this is what I'm writing
That's breaking.
the cards with.
And if you could feel eyes, like just rolling eyes behind a helmet without seeing them, they uncross their spears and let you go on. Whatever, be quick.
No
And-
quote. I want to see EliteBabes.com.
Don't worry, I posted it in the Discord.
Alright, and then they
Whoa.
let you onto the estate. And the music changes. Alright, so these dudes bugger off. And then you see before you, as you step onto the actual grounds,
No Uber.
the grounds of this estate have grand unicorn statues on each side of the path leading to the home. And the home is a magnificent two-story marble building that gives off a somber tone, coated in blue paint, and it boasts mithril filigree, a hue lighter. The tone of the estate permeates through the air. There's a slight chill. You can see a large window pane into a room, and also on the patio are two figures engaged in quiet conversation. On the left, you can see a haggard, red-haired and red-bearded man with a black and gold cane, and across from him, they're seated at like a little patio, little table here. Across from him is a platinum-haired man who has the body language of attention, but his eyes are shrouded by a blindfold. He holds a salmon-colored crystal in his hands, and two more guards stand nearby. As you approach, the red-haired man has his hand on his chin. He's looking down, and then he's like speaking more things, and then the blindfolded man turns to face your group and turns back towards the red-haired fellow, says something, and gains his attention, and then now the red-haired fellow looks at you all, visibly inhales. What is it now?
Shit, didn't think we'd get this far.
Zoaz, should we show him the writ?
Yeah. Zoaz steps forward and says, my friend, I have a writ of enforcement here from Yaya Vasiroko, the captain of the Highlanders Dunestriders, who wanted me to do some investigation here in the town of Askar, and I believe that I have some questions for the scion of this house?
When you bring up the writ and mention Yai's name, he scrunches his face up and becomes more and more agitated as you explain more and more reasons why you're here. And he...
Makayla's just kind of shaking her head.
He places the heel of his palm against the knuckles of all his fingers and does it against the other side. Just cracking his knuckles and just taking deep breaths. Yes, that is me. I'm the scion of House Orion, Alzir. What do you all want? Please tell me that I am not under investigation. I have way too many things to attend to.
No, my friend. We just simply would like to get in contact with someone we believe is in your employ. A minotaur named...
And who is that?
A minotaur named... what was it again? Toka?
Toka.
Okay. When you mention his name, when you mention the name of the minotaur, Alzir... you guys are moved up, but it doesn't matter that you move your tokens. It's just distracting for me. Like they're not with me. Anyway, so when you mention Toka's name, Alzir covers his face with his hands and just emits a strangled scream. Just... and looks at the advisor next to him and turns to you all sitting, places his hands on his knees, looks up at you all. He looks down at the ground, looks up at you all. He's shaking. Obviously under some duress. It doesn't take an insight check to find that. And he says with a shaky voice, "Go on."
We were made aware that it was somewhat difficult to get a hold of him, as he is very dedicated to his work, and, well, my compatriots and I were pointed in your direction.
Okay.
We would appreciate your aid in getting in contact with him.
He's not available at the moment. He's in the mines. He's like his gaze is jumping to each of you. He's just very terse with you. I cannot reach him at the moment. Perhaps he would like to come back later and leave.
So while this exchange is happening, Makayla would be kind of curious about the blindfolded person.
Okay.
Just kind of like trying to see like what they're about, like what's up with them.
Okay. Go ahead and make a perception check or an insight check, depending on what you're trying for.
Well, what? I guess like perception is like, what does that mean? What you're trying for?
Perception, I'll give you his appearance and what he is currently doing, and like how he is standing, and then that kind of thing. And then insight is going to be like his body language and
Okay. Oh, you said insight. I thought you said.
Yeah, insight is going to be kind of like what his body language is, and
I thought you said investigation. That's why I was confused. I was like,
I wish to check for his body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Stand here for a moment while I look over you and take your measurements.
Perception.
Okay.
24.
All right. And then looks like Chuman is going to be trying to ascertain what he's doing. So, Makayla, this platinum-haired individual, he carries a salmon-colored crystal. It's kind of gently floating in his hands, which is good because he is not holding the bottom of it. He's touching the top of it, but not in a manner where he would be holding it. Instead, he is stroking the crystal all around. He's kind of like tracing different lines in spirals and in angles around the crystal. Even while you're all talking, it's just he's constantly doing this. It doesn't seem. It seems practiced, and it seems like this is something with purpose. And
does it seem like it's like a spell casting, or?
You're not sure.
Okay.
And he's overall just the blindfold is black with a red kind of squiggly in the middle over the bridge of his nose, and he has clothes that have the general like livery of noblement, and he's obviously part of House Orion. There's like a little unicorn motif on the breast, and he's sitting attentive, and he's looking at all of you despite being blindfolded. He's looking in your direction. Chuman, you get the impression that his direction, as he shifts between speaker to speaker, he knows exactly what's going on. He is direct and pointed in all of his attention shifts, and his body shifts slightly towards each of your existences where you stand.
This is just to make sure. This is the one that is blindfolded, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thalia's gonna minor illusion a streak of darkness in front of his eyes to see if he reacts.
Okay, he doesn't.
Okay.
Chuman, you can also see that this person is noticeably calmer than the nobleman that he is assisting. The contrast between these two people is stark. Whereas Alzir, you have a haggard, shaking individual, and on the right you have this blindfolded man who is, for all intents, serene.
I see.
Alzir continues and says, "Is Toka under investigation?
Yes, my friend.
For what?" "He is my employee. If you're investigating him, I deserve to know."
Indeed. And Zoaz kind of like opens his mouth to speak, and then realizes that Makayla, the countenance of Makayla,
It's just...
and kind of quiets down.
Makayla kind of would try and quietly whisper to Zoaz, "We don't actually have a charge against him, so to speak. Nothing we can exactly pin on him."
My friend, we do not have evidence that he is necessarily involved in what we are investigating, but we do know that he may have information, helpful information. As of right now, I cannot say that he is necessarily being investigated, so much so as that he could help us along.
What my colleague is trying to say is he is not the target of our investigation.
Yes,
Maybe
that I apologize.
someone who might have information that could assist
I-
us.
I apologize. I am still shaken from events that took place earlier today.
So you forgive me. I am lost in your circumlocution. You come onto my estate, say that you are investigating something, and then that you're not investigating something, and you're wasting both of our times. Please, can we cut to the point?
We believe your worker has information that we need in order to find out more for our investigation. Could you tell us where his whereabouts are?
Can you tell me
Or
what
how-
the
Outside of the
information-
mine.
Can you tell me what the information is so that I can do literally anything or be gone?
With that, Chuman looks over to Makayla and Zoaz.
No, Makayla would have done this, but simply, where could we find him outside of the mine?
There's a moment before Alzir snaps twice, and Makayla, you are accosted by two of the guards, and you're escorted out. You can find them outside the mine, that's right. Bye.
So wait, so they just. Sorry, what exactly is happening?
Makayla is the last person to speak. Is being escorted out by two guards off the premises. The remaining people, I would like to know what are like the what is everyone thinking? What is the remaining people? So everyone not Makayla. What are your surface thoughts?
Xalia is literally just wandering around seeing if there's anything interesting.
Okay.
Chuman, partially trying to get a read of whether he's hiding information or not, and then the area, if there's anything that sort of strikes out as peculiar.
Okay.
Twig is torn between staying with the group or going after Makayla and the guards.
Pastiche is frustrated and ready to leave of his own accord.
Zoaz is confused as to why this is like he's confused as to why not necessarily why he's exasperated with his time being wasted, but why he was so frustrated in the first place, and so like the Scion was so opposed to even giving the slightest information.
Okay. Everyone make an intelligence saving throw.
Including me, or am I not there anymore?
Not Makayla.
Oh boy.
Dang.
Dang.
Apparently, being stupid has its upsides.
We'll see about that.
I'm honestly surprised you didn't just go out and say like, "Yeah, we're investigating you."
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's fine.
Apparently.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Let's see here.
Because I was ignoring you guys.
Everyone dies. No. Zoaz, did you introduce yourself? Or did you just say
No, I
hey,
did
hi?
not.
Okay.
Pleasantries were never exchanged on either side.
Alright, the blindfolded man whispers something. And then he tilts his head a bit and he whispers something else, and then one of the guards just leaves the patio and then heads off to go try to find Xalia. And Alzir claps his hands and calls out to Zoaz, says, "You, Lizardman, hold on. Don't go, come here."
Zoaz walks up to him. Yes?
Is this your first time in Baskara?
Not my first, but I certainly do not spend much time here.
He stands up, and you said you're conducting an investigation under whose authority?
Yai Vastiroko.
What does she want? He kind of squints at you.
I do not believe I am... forgive me, I may not get across the idea properly, but I believe she is looking to figure out exactly if anything is going on under... not necessarily illegal, but under the table. That's what we believe that Toka may have some information that could be of use. Not because he is involved, but because his name has come up.
Make a charisma check. Just regular charisma.
I've heard that one in a minute.
Nope.
He looks at you. Who are you? What is your name?
My name is Zoaz Ituusk. I am a member of the Moonlit Shepherds.
He looks at the blindfolded man next to him, who nods. Zoaz, make another intelligence saving throw.
So wait, during all this, are we escorted out, or?
No, you're all just watching this as he
Okay.
calls Zoaz up to the patio, and he's talking in a quieter tone, so it's a little bit more difficult to hear.
Okay.
Maybe you're watching this.
Xalia, you do notice Xalia is off somewhere. A guard is trotting in her direction. Zoaz, you feel something brush the words in your mind, but you just immediately cast it out with a, just Moon's guidance. Blocks it out. Then he looks at you. Alzir does. I will not cross the eye, eh? Listen, there is something very under the table going on, and I need her help. I should have came to her earlier. But it looks like she came to me. How did you find out?
We met with a contact of hers down in the tavern, or perhaps you know of it. It's in the lower levels. He mentioned a couple names, one of which, of course, Toka. And it happened that potentially we heard something about your child.
He stiffens up and inhales, and he looks at you, and then
we came to find you.
And then this man, this terse man has been very short with you, very direct. It's been rude, brusque. This man breaks in front of you, and he coughs and gets choked up. He says, "My son, I need him back. Please, I badly want to rescue my son, but I'm terrified of taking action and seeing Kid harmed."
And I understand. Which is why I promise you that as a shepherd, I shall do everything in my power if you can help us get in contact with Toka.
He's in the mines. He's in the extra part. You see it? Please, my son, Kitlali. Listen, here, gather around, all of you. I'll hit, and then he waits for you all to come together. Makayla, you're still outside.
But before he goes on, Zoaz says, "I apologize for my roundabout methods earlier. I do not wish to bore you with the details, but I had an experience earlier today, and it has left me shaken."
Shaken is something I can understand. See, Kitlali, my son, he was abducted almost a month ago. I tucked him in one night, and he was gone the following morning with a threatening message in his place. And then, some days later, a snarky woman wearing a cloak of feathers met with me, and explaining she needed expendable labor, an easy transit of said labor and goods. As long as I complied, Kit would be returned unharmed with her when her business was done. If I backed out of the deal, the woman said she would visit horrors upon Kit that would make even a wanderer back off. And then what I have here is a mining operation under jurisdiction of Durlask, and Toka's leading it, but I don't think he has control of it anymore. Durlask keeps calling this an opportunity. An opportunity for what? Our children to play in the dirty streets? To never see the sunshine? They've restricted all my finances until this excavation completes. The dusty spiral is spiraling out of control. I have nothing left to give. Alzir breaks down sobbing after relaying this information and staggers inside.
Zoaz just sort of stands there for a second at the outpouring of emotion.
And then, let's see, everyone on the property, so that's Xalia too, but not Makayla. In your minds, you hear a whispered voice. Greets you all. Is a whispered, sort of husky voice. Tidings to you all. My name is Sang. I am Alzir's confidant. I stand before you. I am talking to you through our minds. They are temporarily linked. There are things that the Scion cannot say, and you can see how broken the man is. During this time, the person you now identify as Sang, his fingers are just stroking all around this crystal. I have no doubt that Kit will die, regardless of Alzir's actions. If you could save him and return him to his father, House Orion would owe you a great debt. I do know quite precisely, with my talents, where they have taken him. There is an enclosed lift 5 buildings north of this estate. You can look for the dragonfly inside. Make sure you're alone, as this lift will take you down to the dig site and hopefully Kit. Please find it in your hearts to help not only all of Baskar and forgive this selfish request from an advisor. return the young master to us. Those brutes have no idea how to care of a child.
By my standing as a shepherd, I shall do everything in my power to bring him back.
I hope this dude is enjoying being connected straight to Xalia's brain.
You don't know. Is there anything that I can do except apologize profusely for the Scion's earlier mannerisms? He has a lot on his plate, and I can only but help and watch.
I understand. I approached the situation in a poor manner. As for what you can do to help, at the moment I cannot think of anything. But perhaps my compatriots are of have an idea that I do not.
You all may speak freely to me. We are connected all in one. And it is through this telepathic contact that we are able to escape the ears that may betray our intentions.
Twig thinks back a reply. There is one thing I do want to know. How do you do that trick with the crystal?
I will tell you after you return Kit to this estate. Call it an exchange of information.
Fair enough.
5 buildings north, you said.
That's true, my friend. 5 buildings north, there is an enclosed lift. It stands out among a bridge.
And we are to approach it alone?
Make sure that you are alone. That lift is also used for regular travel. We do not want to involve any others. This extra section of the mines is under hushed jurisdiction. I cannot tell you more at this time, but I will happily, and I do promise, that both Alzir and I, Zang, will be able to track down the kidnapper, and I will tell you more of the machinations behind Baskar.
I will take you at your word. Pastiche takes a few steps back and starts preparing to leave.
Likewise with Twig.
Chuman nods and then says, "We appreciate the information. We should do what we can to bring his son back alive." Then begins to head out.
Zoaz nods, turns, and leaves.
Twig, as he's leaving, freezes in place and says, "Wait a minute." Then he turns around and just yells, "Xalia! We're leaving!"
Young one on the roof, your party is departing.
Zalia is not going to respond mentally in words. She's going to respond mentally in some sort of fucked up construction of emotion and information that does not translate very cleanly to words. But mostly it just conveys indifference and curiosity towards what's up on the roof.
Would we get that too?
With this one, you can direct where it goes. So.
I'm responding to the guy.
Okay.
It appears that one of your party will not be joining you. They are interested in the blue mithril shingles on our roof. I'm afraid she won't find much more other than dust.
You see, it's high up.
Uh-huh.
But she'll probably get bored eventually. Not right now, though.
Okay.
What's the view like from up there?
The view actually is pretty decent.
Oh yeah, we can't see it.
But it would be up to Xalia if she looks out. Which she probably does because she is looking around for something interesting. So, the view from up there, Xalia, you can see this estate is nestled against the rock. You look out over the rest of Baskar, and there is a crisscrossing of metal cylinders and bridges and lifts that are in constant motion throughout the city as they are moving people around through this yawning gap in the middle of the strip mine. You can see many other states. Maybe someone's hosting a party. You can see a couple people purchasing things from like a fruit stand. There is there's like a safari hat salesman. You can see a gray and black striped tabaxi wearing a purple robe, holding a bundle of rocks in their arms. They head into a building that looks like a shop and close the door behind them. And then you see your party leaving. And it's around this time that you probably get bored.
Okay, she's gonna run down to follow them.
Okay.
And she'll just act like nothing happened.
Okay. So you all join to each other. You rejoin with Makayla outside of the grounds. And you all are able to find the elevator, sorry, not the elevator, the lift easily enough when you choose to go. Makayla, you see Twig, Zoaz, Pastiche, and Chuman exit. Perhaps a look of understanding on their countenance. They're soon joined by Xalia.
Well, after I got kicked out, I would have tried to look for like birds or like rats, like any like sort of animals around the manor, the area. Do I need to make like a check for that?
Make a nature check. It's not quite what it's for, but
It's kind of.
okay. Let's see. In Baskar, there would
It's a cactus.
find at least one cactus. You find a cat.
You know what? Good enough.
It is an orange creamsicle cat.
Cats speak with animals.
Okay. It's the cat is just chilling on the edge of the ring that leads into the gap, cleaning a paw, cleaning its ear.
Yeah, Makayla, no, talking to this cat. I would speak with animals. Hold on, let me just make sure that's how this works. Yeah, I'd try and inquire if this, like, I guess she's trying to inquire if there had been people coming in and out of Orion's Manor at like night, like late into the day, you know, just kind of if it had seen that. I don't know, cats kind of, you know, hang around the area.
Okay. You get a response like, food? Oh, I see.
I mean, I can offer some rations.
And it's followed up with with sort of like a snooty voice, and then it says, "Look, when you address me, you will use my real name, and my real full name is the dark storm that traverses across the dunes of the shimmering sands, and that which rules over all. And then maybe I'll answer your question." It punctuates the sentence by looking at Spall.
Yeah, sure. Makayla would honestly like be very respectful. You know, I've already lost the name. I give up. I had it for a moment, then it went out of my mind.
Okay, so you reply.
I mean, Makayla would realistically, like, actually be respectful and like, hey, if they're saying they want to be called that way, refer to them as that.
Okay.
And offer them like a ration.
Okay. The cat sniffs the hardtack, then gives you a look like, what is this? Excuse me?
It's what I eat.
And the dark storm that traverses across the shimmering dunes that rules over all replies to you and then mentions, I did see someone that exited the Orion state. Large person. Was carrying a bundle. A sack. Over his shoulder. They left. I didn't pay much attention.
Thank you, Dark Lord.
Dark
Very much appreciate
storm.
it. I'm not gonna say that. Makayla did that on purpose. And
the cat corrects you with just like that.
As I literally just walk away. It's like
I guess during this time we're showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would we see the cat leaving?
Yeah, sure. There'd be like a cat kind of like I imagine like the cat would like, get up and like fuck you and run away.
The cat buggers off and in search of something interesting to do.
Twig will approach Makayla and say, "Makayla, are you okay? Did those guards do anything?"
No, I am fine. They simply just escorted me out. I did not wish to make a greater scene than we already did. But you were there for significantly longer than I would have thought. What occurred?
Well, to put it short, he says his son has been kidnapped, but we would be able to... There's a lift just not too far from here where we would be able to get to the mines. He warned to make it just us using the lift to avoid the population at large from getting involved. It might not be a friendly reception there.
Okay. Oh, the dark storm that watches over the night, or whatever his name was, did it say like how long ago they saw the person carrying the sack, or is that just like some nights ago?
Some nights ago. You didn't ask specifically, so they gave you an equally vague answer.
Fair enough. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And he told you this information willingly?
Well, yes.
Despite my attempts at sabotaging the situation, he was quite amenable after I came clean with what our plans were.
He did have a bit of an emotional breakdown, but who doesn't now and then?
Makayla's like kind of shocked, but like also not. Like she's definitely suspicious of it. But perhaps your direct approach was the correct one after all. If it got this information, it seems that I got a little bit of information myself, and it was something taken out of that building. Some sort of large sack.
That's most likely was the child.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we can go down and simply hope that it's not a trap. How do you know where it is exactly?
The blindfolded man, the crystal, you saw him, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
He, using his quote-unquote talents, was able to glean the location of the child, Kitlali, I believe?
Okay. Okay, it's kind of apprehensive about it, but well, I believe either way we get answers of some kind. Just regardless of the situation we find ourselves in, I imagine it would be a fight with some foes, no matter if this can be trusted or not.
Indeed.
Agreed. Either way, we were going to venture into the mines, so I suppose that this information helps with what we're looking for.
It does seem like it's inevitable.
Okay.
Just kind of, shall we?
You arrive at the elevator, and the music changes. So here you are at the lift. It is an enclosed lift. Seems small. There, it is on a small little platform that, or something like a half bridge that juts out to it. It has a large double door. You guess that it might be used for moving large items and mine carts and such. It is definitely an enclosed lift, and it's around 5 buildings down. So yeah, this must be the place. You walk up to it, open up the door, and in the inside is a large pipe-like railing, presumably for people to hold on to, or for them like to jam things under so it doesn't jostle around. I'll head in. And
yeah, guess we just gotta go, right?
Unless there's anything to do outside, don't let me rush you.
I mean, is the elevator itself like
Can gather supplies.
safe?
Looks pretty safe.
Trapped? I don't know.
Make
Like,
make an investigation check.
seems like a elevator that goes directly to where they're holding a hostage might be, I don't know, guarded of sorts or trapped. Oh no, Makayla sees nothing.
Okay. Makayla, you begin looking around and things are all right, and then Pastiche and Chuman jump on the idea, and they also start picking up what you're putting down. The elevator seems safe. It is not trapped or destroyed or sabotaged or tampered with in any manner, but you do find several kind of like inset plates that are notable because they are different, and it might be one of the first things that you've seen. It is the insignia of a dragonfly on these plates, but before that you can start checking them out, behind you is that gets on the lift is a red dragonborn. We'll say you're actually kind of like here, and then zoop. So he gets behind there, and then says, "Hey, yeah, the lift always goes down or always goes up before it goes down. So I'll just." And he gives you a second look. Wait a minute. There's no way. You! I remember you! Get out of here! You don't belong here!
As you wish. Pastiche steps off the lift.
Chuman says nothing and steps off.
What?
I
Sounds
believe
like
that
Dragonborn.
the Dragonborn that they had to they had to threaten with bodily harm.
Yeah, this
The
is
watermelon.
indeed Beaver Vouch.
It's our watermelon friend.
Sorry, but have we met? I'm confused.
He jabs a finger at Twig and points over his shoulder with towards Pastiche. Yeah, you're the harassers. Get on, go. You don't belong here.
Twig is jostled out of the lift. He shrugs his shoulders and says, "What did I do?"
Zoaz hears harassers pointed at them and is like, "Excuse me?" And he stomps out of the lift. Were you harassing this innocent man?
Zoaz, does that sound like me? Okay,
Pastiche
maybe a
avoid
little bit.
contact.
No, it does not. But it does not seem like he was lying, given that your reactions to him.
I'm just
Not-
confused.
Not everyone was harassing per se.
Beaver Vouch is more like kind of like forcefully moving his arms like towards you, Makayla and Xalia, and then gesturing towards the door. Go on, you're not minors. This lift is for minors only.
Bailey just
Yeah,
kind
you
of
said-
stares at him.
I thought you said you were going up.
No, I'm going down. But it doesn't matter. Get out. Go on. Get out of here. And he is now going to try to shove Xalia, who is probably not budging, right?
Yeah, she's just kind of spacing out.
Okay, she's going to. Beaver Vouch is going to try to shove you out of the elevator, roughly. So we need either acrobatics or athletics from you.
Just.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Dang.
Very forcefully and roughly, this strong dragonborn pushes you out of the elevator, sends you towards Twig.
Okay. she is going to spin around towards him, like shoot snap out of her reverie, and just make a low growling sound and have a bunch of inky spider legs start flailing out of her mouth.
Ugh.
Ah! And then he starts like jamming the elevator button.
So we're gonna do this,
Yeah, like
and then we're gonna do this.
Ah, okay, he's gonna make a wisdom saving throw. Let's see how wise he is.
Oh,
Not very wise.
Oh,
Not very wise.
guess this harassment continues.
He runs as the door is closing.
Makayla's
of the
holding
elevator.
like hold the door open.
Okay,
like
well-
jamming. Their staff is like keeping it open.
Okay, well he doesn't notice you. He runs to the opposite side towards one of the dragonfly panels, rips it off, and into this just bout of fear, and he appears to like take a wire and then jam it into a crystal. Oh, only Makayla can see this because she's still in the thing. He appears to be like hot wiring the elevator ? And you two start heading down.
What?
How fast?
That is unfortunate.
It's what were you saying, Zoaz?
How fast is the elevator going down? Is this a controlled descent, or is this he just caused the elevator to drop?
It is a quick but a controlled descent.
Okay.
We have to go after her.
And Makayla is gone. The bit of the platform that are you like sticking your staff out, or are you just kind of like holding open the door?
Yeah, I mean she would have
Okay.
been she would have like kind of
Okay, so you hold open the
like
door,
hold the door open.
and so this open door lift is now descending towards the lower rings of Beskar, with you and a dragonborn in it, and your party is left at the top of the landing. The rest of the party, you can see the top of this elevator. It is going down.
At this very moment.
can Xalia jump onto the elevator?
You
the
can.
top of it?
Okay. At this very moment, how
Going to.
far away? About how far away is the elevator from Zoaz?
Probably 10 feet.
About how far away is the ground?
About a lot feet.
Okay.
Zoaz is going to use Misty Step to land directly on top of the elevator.
Okay. So as you evaporate into silvery mist, and then you reapparate on top of the elevator at the same moment that Xalia, boom, 3-point landing, jumps on top of the elevator. Makayla, you hear this commotion on the top, and that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Well, that is not how I expected that to go.